And good evening and welcome to this edition of the Scanner Guys. I'm Jonathan Higgins, live from our studios right here in Cincinnati, Ohio. So tonight's discussion, we're talking about those low-cost 2A radios. Are they a good alternative for a scanner? Well, we're going to take a look and kind of take a dive into the pros and cons of it tonight and being able to see whether or not this is a good investment or a bad investment. Or maybe it may be a good investment for certain applications. So welcome to the show. In case this is your first time joining, make sure you subscribe to the channel, which you can do right now. And then if we talk about any scanner-related products during the broadcast, there's an affiliate link down below in each and every one of these broadcasts for you to be able to purchase things directly from Scanner Master. So this is tonight's presentation, a low-cost 2A radio, a good alternative for a scanner. Well, let's take a look. Just want to remind you of some upcoming events that I will be at right here in the local Cincinnati, Ohio area. Coming up on April the 6th, that's a Saturday, I'll be kicking off my Buckeye Bluegrass Holiday Express tour, making its way all over, the Kentucky and Ohio area. Our first stop will actually be at Ludlow, Kentucky, at the rail fanning tower. So come by, watch some trains, and enjoy some rail fanning. And of course, if you're a fan of this show, you can meet me in person, spend some time with you there. I'll be there until noon. We'll be kicking things off at 8 a.m. at the Ludlow rail fanning tower. And then the following month, we will be heading out to Hamilton, Ohio, just north of Cincinnati. At the Butler Street location, there's a parking lot right near there by a McDonald's. We'll be setting up shop, watching trains from 8 a.m. until noon. A great event. Make sure you join us as we check out some of the finest rail fanning spots in Kentucky and Ohio. These meetups are exclusively designed for rail enthusiasts. If you're somewhat interested in watching trains, come on and stop by. You can meet me, bring your chair, some drinks and some snacks, and we'll be happy to talk to you as you trackside. Make sure you shop our store online, the Scanner Guys store. We can have all types of stuff. We have hats, hoodies, t-shirts. We even have a travel mug and so much more. Check out the store at the ScannerGuysShow.com. That's the ScannerGuysShow.com. So tonight's topic, we are talking about low-cost 2A radios, a good alternative for a scanner. Well, let's take a look. So these BaoFeng radios, relatively inexpensive, about $25 for this particular model. It has about 128 channels. It does not have any banks. I made a mistake and I didn't delete that portion of the slide. So no banks there, none of that. So I'm sorry that that's on there. But let's skip down to analog frequencies. It covers the 136 megahertz to the 174 megahertz. And then on the UHF, it's the 400 to 520 megahertz. It does have the ability to add in PL tone, both CTCSS and DCS. So it's able to support those private lines in case you're programming in something into the radio that has the private line and the lithium-ion battery, so which lasts quite a long time. So let's take a look at a scanner. So compatible model, I would say, to these inexpensive radios is the Uniden Bearcat BC125AT, about $130. Has a lot more channels, about 500 channels. It does have the banks, so it has 10 banks in the scanner, 50 channels per bank. It has more coverage, as you can see there, from 25 to 54 megahertz, up to 108 to 174 megahertz, 225 to 380, and then of course from 400 megahertz to 512 megahertz. So you have more coverage there. The other benefit to this radio, you also have FM, FM narrow, and AM. So this radio will support aviation. Unlike the other radio, will not support aviation in most of the radios, those $25 radios. So there's a lot of more key features to the radio. If you look at it here, close call. So if you're in an area where we're not able to determine what the frequency is of that particular person that's using a radio, close call is a big benefit there. It does support PL tone, but the great thing about it, unlike that other radio, this one will search out the PL tone. So if you don't know what the PL tone is and you program in, 154.57 megahertz, you can make it so it does a PL tone search. So once they start talking, it'll be able to determine what that PL tone is, and you'll be able to store it on that particular channel. With the other radio, it doesn't do that search, so you're going to have to know the PL tone in order to be able to program it. Many of those $25 radios do not have alpha tag capability, where this does. You're able to do 14 characters on the 125AT, and you can customize it so it'll say on the screen, in this case on the radio that's on the screen, it says Delta Blue Angels. So you could program in whatever you want for the alpha tag, and then on the second line, it's going to display the channel number and then the frequency they have programmed there. So there's a lot more value on the screen as well. Service searches are huge. So while you're out and about, maybe you're monitoring military air, or you're monitoring civil air, or maritime, or railroads, you have the ability to do service searches. So the radio is able to do that. Unlike the $25 radio, it'll take AA rechargeable batteries or alkaline batteries. So you're not using a battery pack at this level. Although the other radio, the battery does last longer. That's the biggest thing. And the other thing that with the 125AT, it's a scanner. So it basically scans. With those other BaoFeng radios, they do scan, but the speed is very, very slow. So, I mean, it's more geared towards a two-way radio than a scanner. So that is a huge issue there. If you're using this particular radio as a scanner, it's not going to scan very fast whatsoever. It's going to be extremely slow. Let's take a look one more time at the radio here. I want to show it on the screen. So you're looking at, comparing to the 125AT, looking at about $25, fewer channels, 128 channels. It just has analog coverage. So if they're using digital, this is out of the question. If they're using trunking, this is completely out of the question. This is not a police scanner by any means. Unless your police department is using analog conventional communication, this radio will not do the job. We'll take one more look at the 125AT. This is a true scanner. It's able to do a lot more. I mean, you're able to search for frequencies. You're able to have more band coverage, from 25 megahertz with some gaps in between, all the way up to 112 megahertz. Although this scanner does not do digital, it will do analog conventional through a whole bunch of bands. And of course, it has service searches. As we've coined this show and coined this radio in past shows, this is a transportation scanner. So you're able to monitor aviation, railroads, maritime. You can use this at a NASCAR race or or any type of race that they're using analog conventional communication. But yeah, I mean, the 125 AT is a little bit more, but it brings more to the table when it comes to a true scanner. Let's take a look at the pros and cons. There's a lot here to digest when it comes to pros and cons of using these low-cost two-way radios. Now, let's take a look at some of the pros. Longer battery life. Slightly better sensitivity on those particular bands that you're monitoring. It's a low-cost radio with limited, and I mean limited, capabilities. As we know, doesn't have close call, does not perform any type of service searches. It is very low cost. It's great for monitoring a single channel. Now keep in mind, I mentioned that the scanning speeds are very slow with this particular radio. So there's not a lot of speed when it comes to scanning. So if you do put this particular radio in scan mode, you may miss radio transmissions as it makes its way back to the beginning of the list. A lot of people will use these radios typically as a low-cost entry-level ham or GMRS radio. Something that's relatively inexpensive, gets them into the hobby. Now you notice there's a lot of cons to this. It is harder to program. You're programming an actual two-way radio, so the layout of the programming is slightly different. You're not able to use on these BaoFeng radios the Butel software, so you're not able to import things in from Radio Reference or be able to use the simplified Butel software or ProScan to be able to program these particular low-end radios. Limited on the programming options. You don't have a Butel. You're basically locked and loaded with the manufacturer's software for this particular radio. We've already mentioned this. Slow scanning speeds. No service searches or close call. Transmitting capability. Now, if you're using this radio as a scanner, this can be an issue. There's a large, typically on the left side of the radio, a transmit button. Now, with higher end radios, you have the ability to turn off the transmit. So basically, if you did press that transmit button by accident, typically the radio will beep at you, letting you know that you're not able to transmit on that particular frequency. If you don't have the ability to turn off the transmit, that can be a very dangerous thing because you could by accident transmit on the particular frequency you're monitoring. Now, the only way around that is basically programming the receive channel with the channel you're truly receiving, and then on the transmit side of things, program in something, a different frequency that you won't interfere with any type of communication that's, such as public safety, railroads, aviation. Well, aviation's out because most of these radios don't do AM or, maritime. Now, you may want to program like one of those basic business channels, 154.6000 or something of that nature on the transmit side. So when you program these radios, you program a receive and a transmit. On a scanner itself, you're only going to be programming in on the receive channel. You're not going to be programming in that transmit channel because the scanner doesn't have transmitting capabilities. So with these low-end $25 radios, a lot of times they don't have a transmit off. So you're running into a major issue there. You could by accident transmit on a particular channel, and if you get caught doing that, you can get into a lot of trouble. Limited memory structure. So where I mentioned earlier with the 125 AT, a true scanner, it has a bank memory structure. So basically it has 10 banks, 50 channels per bank. You can turn banks on and off. With high-end two-way radios, they have what they call zones. which is a list of frequencies or talk groups that you can monitor in a particular zone. With these low-end $25 radios, they don't have that. So if you program in all 128 channels on this BaoFeng radio, it's going to scan all those channels, and it's going to take its sweet old time going from channel 1 all the way to 128 if you get that radio packed. No 8 or 700 megahertz. No trunking. So it's not going to be able to do a trunking system. So if you're thinking of getting this for the Marks trunking system, it doesn't do digital and doesn't do trunking. And right there, it says right in the next bullet, no digital on these cheap models. And no AM, so that means no aircraft band. So that's a huge issue if you're an aviation enthusiast. So there is a lot of benefits of purchasing a true scanner like this. I mean, you have the ability to do a lot of things here. But yeah, you want to be very careful with these two-way radios, because for this particular model, I believe you can't turn the transmits off. So if you program in the receive and transmit channel and you press that by accident, you're going to be broadcasting on their channel, which could cause you a major issue. Unless you do, like I mentioned, on the transmit side, you program in some sort of frequency. If you did transmit by accident, it's not going to interfere with public safety, railroads, or whatever you may be monitoring on this. This is not a scanner. Not a scanner. So I can't stress that enough. I have people that tell me, oh, I got a scanner, at the railroad club, and they pull out one of these BaoFengs, and it's not a scanner. It's a two-way radio. It does not, a scanner is in its name. It scans. This thing will scan, but it's very, very slow. So it's not able to scan at a rapid speed like the unit in Bearcat 125AT. The other thing, too, is you're able to zone out things. For instance, the 125AT has banks. So you're able to store 50 channels in the first bank, 50 channels in the next bank, and so forth and so on. So you can turn off those banks. So if you're not wanting to monitor bank 3, you can turn it off by just a click of a button while the radio is scanning. So here are the pros and cons. You can see there's a lot on the con side of thing versus the pro side of the thing. I actually do use my 125AT for rail fanning, and I also use a two-way radio, which is a more high-end than these $25 radios. So I use an Anytone radio, which is more like a two-way radio. It is not as expensive as a Motorola or a Kenwood, but this radio is complicated to program because you're programming a two-way radio. You can see that the price is a lot more. You're looking at $325, give or take, for this particular radio. It's more heavy duty, and I'm not too sure why I left that on there again, but hold on one second. So with this particular radio, it's got 4,000 channels, so it's got a larger memory capacity. So 4,000 channels there. It's got analog coverage on these two bands, and it also does DMR digital. So it'll do analog and digital DMR. You can program in the PL tones. It also has the extended life lithium-ion battery. So this particular radio, I programmed in all 97 of the railroad channels in there. So, and I have it so it has dual monitoring, so I'm able to monitor two frequencies at the same time. So I don't even use this radio as a scanner because it would take a terribly long time to scan all the way through all 97 railroad channels. So what I end up doing is just locking in on the road channel on one, and then on the other slot there, I lock in on the dispatch channel. Now, why do I use this while rail fanning? Because the battery life lasts a lot longer than the unit in 125AT. So it's got the battery, which is the lithium-ion battery, and I'm not transmitting on it. So that's why typically these two-way radios tend to last a little bit longer with their batteries, because it's meant to be transmitting anywhere from 3 watts, 2 watts, up to 5 watts. This radio does not support trunking, as you see. Ooh, DMR. But if it's a DMR trunking system, it does not do that. If you are looking for something like this to be able to, have an extra radio in your arsenal, for maybe listening to the railroads, programming in all 97 channels, I would recommend going to a reputable company such as Bridgecom Systems. I bought mine actually at the Dayton Hamvention back in 2018. And there's also a carrying case for it. As you know, I pitch carrying cases like it's going out of style, but there is a carrying case for this particular radio. It does support DMR, conventional, and analog coverage. So it's got pretty good coverage. The railroads, it'll work fine for that. And then maybe a few other things if you're looking to monitor other things. But keep in mind, with this particular radio, you do have the ability to turn off the transmit. So when programming in a given frequency into a channel, you want to make sure that the transmit is turned off. So in case you press that button, in this case, if I do press it on this particular radio, the radio will beep at me saying transmit not allowed. And that's exactly what you want to be able to monitor. So definitely a more rugged radio. I would certainly recommend this over some of those other radios that are out there, such as those $25 radios. I mean, you are getting what you're paying for with those cheap radios. It's not the best thing in the world. You get what you pay for. In this case, with the $25 BaoFeng radios, it's not the best grade of a radio. So those are the pros and cons of looking at a low-cost two-way radio, a good alternative for a scanner, depending on how you're using it. Now, granted, if you're using one of these radios and you just want something to monitor 1 or 2 frequencies, and you're able to program it, and be able to set it up so the transmit's off, or you do something so it's not going to transmit or interfere with that particular department, agency, or railroad or maritime or whatever you may be monitoring, then take the precautions. Because you know what? You always say, I'm never going to hit that transmit button by accident. You put this on your belt, you bump into it, you press it, your conversation with your buddy is going over that channel. All you need is, let's say, for example, it's a railroad police, and they're right by you, and they see you talking, and they can read your lips. Oh, that's where it's coming from. You're going to get in major trouble because you're transmitting and interfering with their communication, and that is a big crime, and you will get charged for it if you do get caught. So, if you're going to use a two-way radio, get something that's probably not $25. Get something a little bit more advanced where you can turn the transmits off. So Chris is asking, will you keep the radio when the railroads go NXDN down the road? So I don't know when that's going to happen, Chris. I know you've asked this several times. When NXDN happens, of course, I probably will go to the new scanner, which is the 160DN, the unit in Bearcat, because it's able to do NXDN. If I'm going to do NXDN, I'm going to have to throw down some decent change. Like Danny Harmon, which is one of the people that rail fan out there. He does have a portable radio that supports NXDN, and it wasn't cheap whatsoever. So that's going to be when you're going to look at a radio that supports NXDN, it's going to be a more expensive radio. So I don't know what I'll do at that point when NXDN comes about. I mean, for now, I do go rail fanning with 2 radios. I have the 125 AT with me, and I also have the Anytone with me. The reason being is I can't do many things that I can't do on the 125 AT, such as service searches, close call, or scan a bunch of frequencies quickly. As many of you know, that I program into my 125 AT, the first 97 channels of the AAR 97 channels that you can monitor for the railroads, I program them into Bank 1 and Bank 2. So if I have Bank 1 and Bank 2 on, it'll scan through the 97 channels really quickly, versus the Anytone, which is not going to be able to keep up. I've used both radios while rail fanning, and it basically does that quite well. Joe, yeah, I basically use the 125 AT still right now because, I just love the radio. It's set up for me. But yeah, I mean, the BCD 160DN, yeah, would be my primary for going if NXDN comes about. Great question, Chris. I see a lot of check-ins this evening from many of our regular viewers tonight. Let me just take a look to see if there's any questions in here. Make sure that you share this broadcast on your social media. We want to make sure that we get as many eyes watching this broadcast as possible. Ron checking in from Little Rhodey. Chris Schultz, Let's Go Rail Fanning. Joe P. Rhodey Railroading. Mike. SGV Scanner. Dave. Joe. Let's see here. There's a lot of people checking in that I can see here. Jim, Joe Bearcat is out there in the house tonight. And of course, a great friend of mine, Dale Osborne. Police Fire Dispatch is out there. John, Scott, I am is there. Steve, just to name a few. There's tons of check-ins tonight. Yeah, the Anytone is definitely a lot better of a radio because it's more rugged compared to the radio that you see on the screen. I have used some of these BaoFengs. I mean, they're okay. It's the risk that I worry about is if you can't turn off the transmit, that's a dangerous thing. I mean, you can cause a lot of issues by transmitting, by interfering with their communication. Can be a huge issue. Make sure you give our video a thumbs up. We would greatly appreciate that. And make sure you subscribe to the channel as well. Robert just checking in from Canada. It is warm here tonight in Cincinnati. We are currently at 67 at broadcast time. Black Duck mentions, one thing I've learned the hard way for the Anytone is that you have the transmit frequency is different than the receive frequency in order to hear the activity on one repeater. Okay. Good information there. But yeah, you want to make sure you're careful with that. And as Joe mentions, FCC fines are not cheap. You may be spending $25 on the radio, but you transmit on a channel that is not supposed to be transmitted on by you, or you're not licensed on those particular frequencies that you're on, the FCC will fine you, and it'll be an expensive fine. So you may be saving on one end of the thing, but on the other, you may be paying some hefty fines. Well, welcome, Tennessee, into the house. Thank you so much for joining the broadcast. Let's take a look at a couple of slides, and we'll answer any other questions that you may have about, this topic or anything regarding scanners. So this was kind of a quick topic. A lot of people asking about, are these radios, good to use? Are they a good alternative? It all depends on how you're using it and what radio you're using. I would probably say you want to stay away from the low-end $25 radios. So you're going to have limitations. You're probably not going to be able to turn off that transmit. So be extra careful when you're using these particular radios. So remember that the Scanner Guys are brought to you by viewers like you. I mean, you watch these broadcasts each and every week. As you can see, there is ads that run typically during these shows. So those, of course, help us to pay the bills, to keep the lights on, to be able to use the streaming service we're using right now to be able to broadcast in 4K. You can also support the show by shopping our merch store. It's thescannerguyshow.com. And make sure you follow, like, and subscribe to our social media. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram at The Scanner Guys. And whenever you're ordering scanner-related products, such as antennas, carrying cases, scanners themselves, any adapters or anything like that, check out Scanner Master and use our affiliate link down in each one of our videos. We do have an affiliate link. If you use that affiliate link during checkout, we will get a little portion of the sale, and we greatly appreciate that as well. And as I mentioned earlier, make sure you check out the Scanner Guys store. We've got all types of great merch there. We have t-shirts, hats, a camping mug, stickers. We have the backpack. We got all types of stuff on there. So make sure you check it out. Support your favorite show, thescannerguyshow.com, and then go to the store. If you're in the Cincinnati, Ohio area, make sure you check out the Train Aficionado Buckeye Bluegrass Buckeye Bluegrass Express Tour 2024. You can join us as we embark on some adventures at the best rail fanning spots in Kentucky and Ohio. These meetups, you'll be able to meet me and other rail fans that are out there. So make sure you bring a comfortable chair, a drink, and some snacks. And join us for all the fun trackside. First stop will be in Ludlow, Kentucky at the Ludlow Rail Fanning Tower. We'll be gathering there from 8 a.m. until noon. And then also we'll be in Hamilton in May. We'll be there from 8 a.m. until noon at Butler Street. If you're looking for additional information or an address of each one of these locations, go to trainaficionado.com/events. So this was tonight's topic of discussion. Basically, these BaoFengs and other radios of its kind. I mean, there is many different options that are out there. Buyer beware. Do your research. I mean, they're $25. Remember, you're buying you're basically buying what you want. And whether you want a cheap radio, but it's not, for everyone. I mean, there's certain people, that this may fit the bill, what they're looking to do or accomplish. Remember, it's not a true scanner. It's a radio that's able to monitor maybe a couple of frequencies or a bunch of frequencies, but it's probably best that you monitor one channel at a time. Or if you get one of those anytones, you're able to monitor two channels simultaneously, which is really nice. But yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff when it comes to scanners. I would strictly, if you're looking for a true scanner, look at an actual scanner, not one of these Chinese $25 radios. You want to look at something that's a little bit more of a scanner. It's going to bring a lot more to the table. Service searches, close call, the ability to scan, channels relatively fast, being able to break out the programming into banks or scan lists or systems and groups, depending on what type of radio. It's going to have some sort of way it's breaking apart the programming. Welcome to the hobby. Yeah, you're soaking it all in, but yeah, we've got tons of videos here on the channel, so definitely check that out. We would really love for you to be able to see some of the other videos that we've kind of done over the past several years right here. Any other questions or comments before we wrap this up for this evening? We thank you so much for watching each and every week, whether it's the Train Aficionado live shows or the Scanner Guys. We are definitely, making improvements all the time on the show. As you can see, we got some new graphics. We hope to get some more guests. If you haven't watched it and you're a fan of NASCAR, check out our last show. We had Dale Osborne on the show, and we also had Kevin over at Racing Electronics join us on the show. He talked to us about all the things that Racing Electronics offers trackside at these races, for you to be able to either rent or purchase one of their racing electronic radios. We also talked about using an actual scanner at the racetrack as well. So we did tips and tricks of that. Yes, so the BaoFengs or BaoFengs or whatever way you pronounce it, they are pretty much a two-way radio, very inexpensive. It's not going to scan fast. You got to be careful with not transmitting on a particular frequency. I mean, you're getting what you pay for. So you're looking for a true SDR. I mean, the closest thing to, a software-driven radio is the SDS 100 and 200. I'm not too sure if the scanner manufacturers will get into that portion of it. But, the closest thing to that is the SDS 100 and 200. Some questions are rolling in right now. Let me just check. Arnold is asking, what is the best mobile scanner available? Now, everybody asks, what's the best scanner? It depends on what you're using the radio for. So let's say, for example, you were using the radio for the railroads and you wanted a mobile radio. Then I would say, the Uniden Bearcat BCD 260DN. But if you told me, I'm looking to monitor the Marks Ohio trunking system, I'm using in the house, I've had issues with simulcast. Then we're going to look at the SDS 200. So it all really depends on what you're looking to monitor is going to dictate what type of scanner is necessary. If you're just interested in the railroads, you only need to spend X amount of dollars. If you're looking to monitor something that's got simulcast issues, you need to go with something that's capable of addressing that. Maybe you don't have simulcast issues and you're looking for something that's computer-based program to monitor that Mark system. Maybe you're going to look at the Uniden Bearcat BCD 996P2. Or maybe you're looking for a zip code-driven scanner that's like the 996, but, it's a zip code-based scanner. Maybe you're going to look at one of these 536s. So, depends on the application and how you're going to be using it is kind of dictating what scanner you need. When I was working over at Scanner Master, I never tried to upsell people. I found out what you're looking to do and then provide you the best scanner options to do what you need. In some cases, depending on what you were looking to do, it may be the $100 and some odd scanner. In other cases, it may be a mid-range scanner. Or in other cases, it could be best results doing this. So you're kind of looking at what you're using the radio for, and that may be the best scanner for you. For instance, for your use, maybe this radio is the best. And for somebody else, they're looking to do this, this, and this. A completely different radio may be the best scanner for them. So you're looking to program some business frequencies for DMR. Now keep in mind there's a lot of DMR trunking systems out there. So you may want to look at a digital scanner that's capable of doing DMR. A lot of businesses are using DMR trunking, especially, manufacturing and things like that. So you may want to look at a true scanner. Also, it's a lot easier to program a true scanner versus some of these two-way radios. You really need to know what you're doing when you're programming a two-way radio. I have a county near me. I assume they will go digital conventional. So depending, Josh, what band they're going to, like it says the band there, VHF. And depending on what digital format, you're mentioning NAC code, so that's P25. So you have lots of options when it comes to P25. P25 is the 996, the 536, and the SDS 200 if you're looking at the Uniden product line. Even the Home Patrol 1 or 2 will be able to support P25. If we're looking at the handhelds, on the Uniden side, it's the 325, the 436, and the SDS 100. So you have a wide variety of radios when it comes to P25 conventional. All those radios will support that. You don't need to do anything fancy with any upgrades if it's a P25 system. If it is a system that they're moving to, such as NXDN or Pro Voice, any of those radios, it's a paid upgrade for them. Pro Voice is probably unlikely. NXDN and DMR, I should say. You're going to need the paid upgrade. The 330T is a great radio to use at the racetrack. That scanner was actually made, to be able to use at the races. So definitely that's a good radio. It does have a little bit more bells and whistles than a 125 AT, but that's still a great radio to do that. Yeah, I did a lot of videos, Jim, for ScannerMaster back in the day. I don't produce any more videos for them, so basically their YouTube channel is pretty stagnant. But, you can check out a lot of the videos that I produced over the period of time that I was at ScannerMaster. And a lot of those videos have kind of been produced into shows on this end over here. Yeah, you would need a license in order to be able to transmit on those particular frequencies. So, for example, like if you're a ham radio operator, you need to have a ham radio license in order to be able to transmit. If you're using this for some sort of business or such and such, you need to have a license for that. Unfortunately, I'm not involved with the overall operation of ScannerMaster anymore, so I'm not too sure any updates on the 260 and 160DN from ScannerMaster. So unfortunately, I don't know what's going on. I'm not a part of the day-to-day operations of over there, so I don't know, what the status is of those particular radios. Yeah, there's a little bit of communication about the P25. Yeah, you definitely want to buy some quality stuff, for scanners. Now, I saw some back and forth communication on social media today, complaining about the SDS's 100 and 200. They're no good on analog. The thing that I've mentioned multiple times on multiple shows here, the SDS 100 and 200 was manufactured for digital. So it works really well on digital communication. On the analog, it does a pretty decent job, but it's not going to be the far superior model when it comes to digital. Coming to analog, excuse me. It's going to work very well on digital, but it's not going to be the best on analog. So where can you find the ScannerMaster videos? ScannerMaster has a YouTube channel, so just search out ScannerMaster on YouTube, and you can see some of the videos that I produced. They haven't had me produce any more videos, so a lot of it is quite dated. But, some of it, I produced over the years. I've done a lot of videos for current radios right here on this channel. So with the SDS 200, you're asking about whether or not you need extra software. So with the Sentinel software, you can do a lot of things with it. You can update the database, update the firmware, and create favorites lists. Now, if you're looking to do a lot of custom programming, then I would recommend something as ProScan or Butel software to be able to create custom programming into the SDS 100 or 200. Those programming would be as a favorites list. You would basically create a favorites list, and then that programming would live in those particular favorites lists. Let's see here. Dale mentions a very good thing here. You know, your scanner is only as good as the antenna that leads up to it. So make sure if you want to be able to pick up, you know, really good reception, you need to get a good quality antenna. You can't skimp on coax cable and such, because that's also going to hinder reception. We'll probably do another one of those shows. It's now springtime, kind of doing a recap with putting an antenna on the outside of your house or on your vehicle. You know, what the do's and don'ts are and what are the best tips for being able to do that. So definitely something to keep in mind there. Yeah, as mentioned, digital modes such as Pro Voice, NXDN, and DMR on the Uniden radios are paid upgrades. Along with the new waterfall feature that's on the SDS 100 and 200, that is a paid upgrade. The radio reference import is actually on the Sentinel software. So you're able to ping the Uniden server, which is then grabbing from radio reference. So you'll be able to see all those frequencies in the database into the root tree that you see there, you know, for United States and Canada. If you're looking to be able to do custom programming, I would recommend Butel software, and then you would have to, if you're looking to import in information from Radio Reference, you would have to be a paid subscriber. $15 for 6 months. A full year is $30 for Radio Reference. See a lot of comments here. Let's see. I'm just trying to catch up on. I'm not too sure what's going on with your Whistler Wolf's Den. Not too sure what's going on with your Whistler 1040. He states, or she states, you know, it stopped hearing a particular channel on the radio. I mean, that could be many things, you know. Unfortunately, it's something that I can't really troubleshoot over a live broadcast, but that may be something that you may want to talk to somebody locally or post it on Radio Reference with. Yeah, Joe, I'm waiting on those keys. So as soon as I have those keys, I'll be able to do a waterfall topic show. As of right now, I don't have those keys as of yet. And I think you know what I'm referencing, unless it's been updated today. Recently bought the SDS, and the knob seems to getting stuck down when I press it. How long ago did you purchase the radio, and is it available for exchange or refund? That's something that you're going to have to contact whoever you purchased the radio from, and if it's within, you know, said time, 30 days or whatever, you know, let them know what's going on with the radio, and then try to see how they want to pursue it. So, you know, the BaoFengs or BaoFengs are spying on us just like TikTok is. Well, that's funny. Yeah, I know, Joe. I'm not giving you a hard time. I'm just waiting on. I mean, as soon as I have that, I'll do a waterfall show. Unfortunately, I need to try this out before I talk about it. I can't do a broadcast where I'm blind on and you know, the topic of discussion. You know, I want to be able to try it out. I want to give some screenshots, show some examples of things I've done with it. Hopefully they can get me those keys, because it'll be very, very great, you know, for Uniden, for me to be able to showcase the waterfall feature on the SDS 100 and 200. Well, I think I've caught up with all the questions and comments. Hopefully I've answered all of them. As many of you know, this is a one-person operation, so it's just me doing this. So I'm trying to do this live broadcast and also read through your questions and comments, and I try as much as possible to answer all your questions. So make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you check it out. As always, thank you so much for watching the broadcast each and every week. Be safe out there. We hope that you've learned something with tonight's broadcast, and we will talk to you again next week for Train Aficionado Live. So make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Give our video a thumbs up. And then if you're watching this after the broadcast, you can always comment down in the comment section. Thank you so much. I try to do my best with these shows. Yeah, I appreciate your kind comments there. But yeah, thank you so much to everyone that's watched tonight. We will catch you again next week for Train Aficionado Live, which will be Wednesday, March the 20th, and then back again for these scanner guys on Wednesday, March the 27th. So spring's coming. We're going to start doing some spring topics, maybe some antenna talk and such. You know, we love doing those shows during this time of the year because it gets you to start thinking about maybe replacing that rooftop antenna. So maybe we'll dive into that in the next show. Train Aficionado Live will be next week. So make sure after watching this show, go over to that channel and subscribe as well. You are all very welcome. Thank you so much for all your comments. I really appreciate it. The reason why I do this show is just to be able to provide some knowledge to you fine people that are watching each and every week, whether it's Train Aficionado or the Scanner Guys. But be safe out there. I will catch you again next week on Train Aficionado Live. Until then, have a great night.